The years leading up to and during menopause are a rite of passage. The wise woman inside of us is calling to slow down, to take stock, to speak our truth, to burn away all that no longer serves us, ready for our next cycle of life. The good news is, with the support, community, connection, and most of all, sharing our stories and being truly seen and heard, we will travel through this powerful, sometimes painful, heroine's journey and out the other side. Welcome to the Menopause Podcast, real and raw stories of midlife and mental health. I'm your host, Kylie Patchett, menopause self-care coach and storyteller, and I am so glad you found us. Let's get on with the show. Good morning, everybody. It might not be morning where you're listening, but that's okay. This is Kylie. Welcome to another edition of the podcast. And today I have the pleasure of Sheree Clark joining me. Hello, Sheree. How are you?
Hello, Kylie. So good to be here.
So good. I'm full of beans because I've already been up and gone for a walk and it's very early in the morning here, only because it's so hot. So please send me some of your fall weather.
You can have it all.
You were just saying that it's just about to be about the temperature that it would be here in the coolest winter mornings. So how cold does it get in Iowa?
We get below 0 degrees. We do Fahrenheit rather than Celsius, and we get below 0. We've had a really mild fall, so I want to go on the record as saying I am not complaining.
Yes, I know. I'm always complaining about the weather. I feel like I'm one of those fair weather people. Like when it's too hot, I want it to be cold. When it's too cold, I want it to be hot. I'm like, at the moment, 35 degrees, which is like 105, I think, Fahrenheit up. That's a bit ridiculous, frankly. Anyway, could you please introduce your beautiful self to our listeners that don't know you?
Well, first of all, I want to reinforce how happy I am to be here. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to lead with how long I've been on the planet, because I think we shirk from our ages, and I think we should be loud and proud. I am 67 years young.
Yes.
I am on one of many careers that I've had. And so rather than go back too far in the Wayback Machine, I'll start where I am now and then just take one step backwards. So I'm a Midlife Courage Coach. And I usually, once I tell people what my title is, I follow it up by saying my tagline, which is an advertising expression. And my tagline is, I believe it takes guts to live the second half of your life for you when you've lived the first half for everybody else. And typically, when I say that, particularly if I'm talking to a woman of a certain age, I will get rapid fire nodding. A lot of people saying, yep, I got you. Yeah.
I feel like I want to high five you. It's like, yep, exactly that.
Fist bump, baby.
Yeah.
Because we understand that. So that's what I do now. Prior to this, and I've done this since 2016, in 2009 until about 2015, 16, I was a coach, and I'm a coach now, but I coached on nutrition and healthy, and I taught people how to make really good food. And what I realized was that most of the people that I attracted, most of my audience, was women who were concerned about health, oftentimes losing weight, maybe a sugar addiction, maybe a little bit too much romancing the wine.
Oh, yes.
Those kinds. And what I realized when I was working with them was, it really wasn't that they didn't know what to do. They knew what to do. It was that they were using food, alcohol, whatever it was they were over consuming, to numb out, to escape, to avoid, whatever. And I thought to myself, the real problem is the level below the food. Why am I working in the food? Why am I doing this? Why am I working on the symptoms when I really could be working on the issues? Because I like to go deep.
Yep.
So the last step backwards I'll take, because otherwise we'd be here all day, is to say that before I was a coach, I spent 25 years in the advertising business. I owned my own advertising agency. I started it in 1985 and left it in 2009.
Wow.
It was a wonderful run until it wasn't. And
Yeah.
I'm guessing you're going to ask me about that. So I'll
Yes, I
pause
am.
and say, that's my life.
I was reading through all of your answers, and I'm like, we could honestly do a 5-part series because you talk about so many things that I'd love to dive into. I think, first of all, where I would love to go, well, actually, just from a personal note, it is lovely to hear someone that is very proud to say they've had lots of different careers, because I was saying to you before we started recording, like I've had so many different careers, and it used to be something that I was actually quite embarrassed about. Like I used to go, oh, I've got a very short attention span. Now I actually realize that I actually love a lot of different things, and I'm lit up by a lot of different things. And I've allowed those things to shape what I do in my life as a career or employment. So thank you. Thank you for the positive affirmation.
I just want to say that to me makes you multifaceted.
Yeah.
And in the friends that I choose, in the people that I hire to work for me, and I've been an employer most of my career, hiring people, I am intrigued and attracted by people who have breadth of experience. They're generalists. They're like, this interested me, so I learned a lot about it. And then I realized that this skill translated into that, and that caught my attention. Far rather have that, to me anyway, for me, for my own life, than to be in one place too long.
So interesting, isn't it? Because I grew up with my dad was born in 1920. So he was my kind of strongest role modeling of how to do life. And I think because he valued routine and structure and security so much, what I kept being taught and told, and what I saw was, you have one job, you stay there, it's forever and ever. And I know the world has changed as well. So, obviously it could be quite different if my dad was still alive. But I think that safety and security thing, I've always made myself wrong for not having that. And it's like, actually being multifaceted, exactly like you said, gives you more. I know there's no such thing as security anyway, but, more ability to respond and adapt to a changing job market and a changing, lifestyle, etc. And I'm very how cool is it that this whole online world is here so that we can, live, work, breathe, eat, whatever from wherever we are, and connect with each other. I just think that that's an amazing thing. I'm fascinated too. 1985 and advertising, that's like the heyday, isn't it? Of the big. So can you give us what's a snapshot? So what decade of your life in terms of 20s, 30s? So I can't do maths that quick. 20s?
I was 28 when I started the advertising agency. Yeah, 28. And it was to your point about having multiple careers. Remember that not only does the world change, but we change.
Yes.
So at 28 years of age in 1985, when the world was a different place, and I was a different person, and advertising was a different world even than it is today. So I was early in my career there. I was the president of the local advertising club, and the local advertising club is a professional organization. All the people in advertising, we'd get together once a month. We'd have a speaker, have a lunch. In that era, we also had an open bar, because that's what you did in the advertising world. You had martinis at lunch, and then you went back to the office, or maybe you went out afterwards and golfed with a client. I mean, it was a different era. And nowadays, if I walked into any kind of an event during the day and there was a bar, I swear I'd slipped into a time machine. It just doesn't happen. So yes, it was a completely different world. Clients were different. The other thing about it was that there was no such thing as Fiverr, where you go online and you hire somebody for $25 to design a logo. We got paid thousands to do that. We were paid handsomely. I didn't have access to Zoom. I didn't have email. I flew to meet with our clients who lived in different cities. It was a different world. It was great. It was wonderful. Again, until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't. Yes. I want to talk about that until it wasn't, because I was mentioning to you, I've got some friends and people that I know that, it comes up in conversation often about the fact that I have changed careers so many times, because they're like, and what are you doing now? It's kind of like they expect me to have a different answer, which usually is right. But what I notice is that there is some people that have still got the idea of this kind of, I'll call it like opportunity cost. It's like they've sunk so many years in building a reputation, in building expertise, in building whatever. And they're very, very clear on the fact that this career doesn't light them up anymore, doesn't hit the mark. But it's like, but I've spent so much time, I've spent too much time putting into this to change. Can you speak to that? Because I don't know, I just want to jump up and down and go, no, don't settle. Like you've got another 20 years of working ahead of you around about, and that energy of settling because you feel like you've committed too much to something. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
I do. There's so many pieces of that, and it's hard to decide where to just jump right in. The first thing I want to say is it's going to sound like a cliche. I admit it. I'm going to say it anyway. It's never too late. Let's just get that out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
I was 53 when I left the advertising business. 53 is not a spring chicken. And I had 25 years invested in that as an owner.
Yes.
So not only did I have like the experience, I also, in that field, and I was well known for it. I'd published books and written them in that business. I was well known as a speaker. It was like giving up a lot.
Wow.
And I also knew that at the age of 53, if I was going to make a change, it needed to be pretty soon, because all I was doing was burning daylight. Like if you're not happy now and you've been unhappy for me, it was a couple of years. It wasn't a willy-nilly decision. We all have shitty days. Let's own it. You wake up on Monday and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I was working anywhere else.
Yes.
And then, but when those happen day after day, week after week, and they start doing the things that I talked about earlier, like you start eating poorly, or you start over lubricating your mind.
Alcohol, drugs, and other.
It's shopping, whatever it is, or procrastination, or just whatever. It's time to realize that your life isn't just after you retire, or once the kids graduate, or fill in the blank, whatever the hell it is you're waiting for. And we're all waiting for something.
Yep.
That it's now too. So when I was 53, I said, you know what? It's like, if I'm going to do something and be happy, I better get my ass in gear. So, I started thinking about it. And what happens is when change occurs, and maybe you could speak into this too, maybe your process is different, but I'll tell you mine. When I know I'm going to make a change, or something is niggling at me, that there's something in my life that's out of alignment, I think about it silently first. I may not talk to anybody about it. It's a quiet rumination, a quiet discussion. Then I might get the courage to say it out loud to my bestie. And I'll usually float a trial balloon, like, you know what? Call me out on it later if I retreat on this, but I could just about sell this business for $1 to get out of it.
Yeah.
And then you start feeling a little bit more confident and talking about it to maybe more than one person. And then you start recognizing opportunities, or people start coming your way, and it snowballs. So you don't have to, I guess the thing I'll say, and then I want to hear your experience. You don't have to make a decision to jump off a cliff in one day and then go do it.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like floating trial balloons, seeing what's possibly out there, visiting with a financial planner and saying, is it possible if I'm unemployed for X amount of time?
Yes.
Can I make it? To do your due diligence, one step, one bite at a time.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm similar. Now, that's a great question. So I think my process has changed, because I used to be a big planner. And I used to, even with this is my second time in my own business. The first time I was in my own business for 7 years, went back to corporate for 5, and I've only just been back in this business a year. And I'm really noticing the difference. So, 12 years ago, me was still running on the conditioning of the seeking safety, seeking routine, seeking knowing. And I now can see that that was me seeking control because of out of control things that happened as a kid. I can see the pattern, and I feel like I've evolved more to just actually understanding that the only surety in my life is being able to trust myself. Literally, if I can trust myself, then it doesn't matter what happens. I can deal with anything that comes my way. And I think that has only come through years lived, just time on the ground. So I used to plan and strategize and be like, okay, so if I do this degree, then I'm going to do and it was all but I continually noticed that those plans never went to plan because what would often happen is something else would come across my windshield and I would go, oh, interesting. And then it would pass on through, and then something else would. And so it's kind of like I used to try and plan change, and it never really happened that way. And then what I've done, I think I've gone full circle now, is even in my business, I thought that I would go back to coaching, and what happened, and I couldn't even tell you really how it happened, but it has just happened, that I've started doing much more copywriting and brand design, to the top, kind of going back to your beginning point, because it's something that I find very easy and it's very useful for my clients, and I love helping people that want to help the world, right? So it kind of collides with. But that only happened because I allowed myself to go, I'm trusting myself, and I'm trusting that the universe will put in my way whatever I need to, receive. And so, but I do the thing, I can relate to the part about the trail balloons. I like that, because I start going, what I've been thinking? I've been thinking it might be nice to blah-de-blah. I just said to my friend yesterday, I'm doing a little bit of training in graphic design, but I said yesterday, she'd been thinking that I really want to go a lot more deeper into the creative side of things. And so here's what I'm thinking. And she's like, oh, yeah, great. And you kind of get that little bit of, oh, okay. The people close to me think that this, is a good idea. So, yeah, I think I'm not afraid of change, though. And I think, a lot of people are. When I was saying to you before, I got an internship in New York and went out to my husband and said, the weirdest thing just happened. This chick that I've been emailing backwards and forwards in New York has said, come and intern for me. And I just said yes, because it felt right. I went out to my husband and I'm like, so how do you feel about me going to live in New York for 3 months? And he's like, no, we're coming with you. And so we sold our house in, 2 weeks and we moved. All of my friends think I'm an absolute nut, but they also will often reflect back to me, you and Shane, which is my husband's name, have just done so many things on the spur of the moment and just trusted it'll figure out. And I'm like, well, what's the worst that can happen?
Right.
You go there and you come home, right? What's it's not that big a deal. So yes. Yeah, I think I've shifted to, and I feel like that is definitely, it's years lived, because then you can look back at 3 decades of time where you were absolutely supported and everything always worked out, or, if it didn't work out, it was the next step to what you needed to know, or whatever, all of those things. When you said before about, so you were 28 when you started. So do you think that I'm interested in the timing of the change in your life, because I do think that this midlife point, I don't know whether it's menopause necessarily. I think it's emptiness, lots of different things that collide in midlife. I feel like we are often asking better quality questions of ourselves. Is this really for me? Is this really how I want to feel? Do you think that there was partly a bit of a timing thing in terms of you were in a transition point anyway in your own life, or was it just that you'd done a long time in advertising and it was done?
I think it was probably every aspect of it
Mm.
that you have touched on. Certainly it was, you do anything for 25 years, whether
Yeah.
it's live in the same home, and I've done that for longer than 25 years,
Mm-hmm.
or being in a marriage. Even
Yes.
the most fabulous marriage gets frayed around the edges if you don't take care of it after
Yeah.
25 years,
Yep.
any of those things. And so there was some of that. The other thing is that some careers and professions are for better suited to certain stages of your life.
Yes.
A really classic example is athletics. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there aren't that many 60-year-old athletes that are still,
No.
doing it. Now, Mick Jagger is not an athlete, but
Yeah.
he's the exception to the rule, and
He
certainly there
is.
are exceptions
He's an outlier. He's off the bell curve, Mr.
for sure.
Jagger.
Yes. And for me, like I mentioned about advertising, while it evolved, and we didn't do 3 martini lunches anymore,
Mm-hmm.
it was still a young person's business from the
Game. Yeah.
standpoint of the deadlines were grueling. I flew 100,000 miles
Mm.
a year just in the continental United States. So that was not overseas travel. So that's a lot. And then you get to a point where you're just like, oh my gosh, I've seen this cycle so many times. I am not encouraged. I'm not stimulated. I'm not engaged. I'm just not
Going through the
vibrant.
motions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going
And
through
I
the
don't want to
motions.
live a flatline life. I need
Oh,
to
say
go.
that again for the people at the back.
I don't want to live a flatline life.
Oh my God. That is your quote right there.
Yeah. It's true. And when you think about it, like when people tell me, well, I don't like change, I don't like drama, I don't like this, I don't like that. Okay, I get it. Nobody looks forward to that. I went to the dentist today. Do you
Yep.
think that that was a high point of my day?
No,
No.
no.
But I also know that it comes with the territory. If
Mm.
I want to keep my teeth, I got to take care of my teeth.
Mm-hmm,
And so
mm-hmm,
if you want to stay on this planet, you're going to have to listen to the news and know that there are more than one war going on, and
mm-hmm.
we're in a political environment here in the US. All of it. Suck it up, buttercup. This is
Mm.
it.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Yep. Yep. You're here and you're here now.
right.
Yeah.
So you can bitch about it if you want, but how's that working for you?
Yeah,
You got to
exactly.
just and if you want a life of excitement, and even if you don't want excitement, even if you just want joy, let's settle for
Yes.
joy.
Yeah.
Then you're just going to have to maybe do a little bobbing and weaving.
Yeah. And even like excitement, even joy, even satisfaction. Like I know people that are just going through the motions. They're not even satisfied. They're not content. They're not reasonably happy. They're just meh. And it's just
Right.
like, I did not sign up for meh. Like I
No.
just don't. And I do think, I've talked about this on the podcast before. I think having a parent, like Dad was 55 when I was born. He was a very young, like he was 91 when he died. And he was most disgruntled that his body wore out because his brain was perfectly fine, 100% fine. But he, physically just wore out. And, he was 91 and still walking every day, still driving his car, still engaged in his community, still interested in life. And he used to say it's because he had a kid late. But I actually think that was part of his personality, that he just wanted to be, he just wanted to be part of stuff. He wanted to have a purpose. And I think that is a dangerous thing as soon as someone doesn't have a purpose, that, it's like slippery slope into the grave. When you said before, I want to come back to what you said about working with people that were numbing out, trying to escape. So you were working with the food level and quickly realized, okay, this is actually not, this is the surface level. What did you find as you started to kind of shift your business to more the root cause? What were some of the patterns that you started to see in the people that you're working with? Hey, gorgeous. We interrupt this gold for a delicious invitation. If your whole body has been whispering more lately, more voice, more truth, more satisfaction, more clients of the soulmate variety, more cash, more you, then this invitation is for you. Potent, my sister mind is officially open. This is my high touch, holy fuck, I'm ready sister mind for rebels in good girl clothing who are done outsourcing their power and diluting their magic to fit into someone else's business formula. If you have been craving a space where your strategy, your voice, and your energy all get to be offered, honored, refined, and amplified, this is it. Inside of Potent, you'll get my eyes on your business every single week, copy mentoring, and that is for brand copy and content storytelling that turns your truth into client catnip, energetic recalibration that helps you unhook old learned limitation patterns, keeping you quiet, not being seen, not being heard, real-time, high-touch, one-on-one coaching that actually sees the bigness of your vision, and the kind of sisterhood that does not flinch when you show up in your full, messy, brilliant, phoenix rising from the ashes glory. This isn't surface level support. It's deep, potent, paradigm shifting work that changes who you are as a woman in business and a woman in life. We start in August. Early open access is open right now. For the month of June 2025, inside of this early access open doors period, you will receive juicy bonuses, extended payment plans, and access immediately to my entire library of storytelling gold. You'll find all the juicy details at kyliepatchett.com/potent. And we fill spaces, and there's only 10 of them, and more than likely only 5 by the time you listen to this, because by that time I will have offered them to the existing cohort, the beautiful original OG circle. We do actually take applications on a first come, first served basis. So come and apply, and let's get back to the magic of the episode.
The patterns that prompted me to want to make the change were people would start using the same words. And I know I'm a detail person. Anytime anybody that's spent any time in advertising, proofreading, you can't have a bunch of typographical errors on your website. That's not good. And just making sure that things are buttoned up. So I noticed things, and I noticed that people were using phraseology. Like, I feel like I have the weight of the world on my shoulders. And when they'd say the word weight, and usually those were people that were trying to lose weight. And I'm like, where's this weight of the world on your shoulders coming from? Because that's going to have a clue as to why you're eating so much, the weight, and you're numbing out and all that. Somebody would say, oh, my spouse is such a pain in the ass. And then they'd have sciatica, which is a, problem. Right, exactly.
The wisdom of the body, hey?
Exactly. Or, my boss, it just makes me sick. Okay. And you wonder why your immune system is shot. So I started thinking about, and as I started noticing those things, just silently, just kind of taking an inventory. And then I started thinking, I don't think I'm going to be happy if I'm working on symptoms. I really need to work on root cause.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to just teach you how to make a lovely broccoli casserole.
Because you already know that that's what you need to be, well, not necessarily specifically a broccoli casserole, but,
but something other than what you're doing. And so those are the things that I noticed right off the bat when I was making that transition.
I love the fact, I always say when I'm writing copy for people for their own businesses, I always talk about the golden thread that runs through people's lives. And as you're talking about being a detailed person, so you're a detailed person in advertising and you hone that skill, how well it transfers into a coaching context where you're like, oh, there's that again. Oh, there's that pattern again. Oh, that one doesn't feel like it matches everything else that you're saying. Let's start there. So I just love the fact that, life leads us where we need to go. I really deeply believe that, if we allow it, if we're courageous enough, but that all of these things that you hone in different phases and times and careers of life, they're so often transferred into something that, has the next lot of meaning for you, or the next calling, or whatever. When you say, I love your tagline about, needing guts to make, because you've shifted from doing everything for everybody else to just yourself. I have noticed, I'm not going to name names here, I'm going to be very careful. I have noticed in some of my friends that they have deeply identified as mainly a mother, even though they've had careers, and then their kids grow up and leave the nest. And they have this identity crisis. And I think that is, very normal. I definitely went through a grieving period where my kids, left, and I was like, whoa, that was sooner than I thought it was. And I'm pretty wrapped up in that part of me that's, connected and caring for you on a day-to-day basis. But when you say courage, how often do you find that people have almost used caring for someone else, including their kids, as part of this numbing thing? It's like, if I just keep my business, if I keep my nose firmly and squarely in your business, then I don't actually have to feel what is going on in my own. I don't have to be honest with myself. I don't have to be. Is that something you notice too, or just me?
Oh, hell yes. Oh, yes, you're not easy. Yeah. And there's so much in what you said, and it's not just that the transitions are hard, let's face it.
Yes.
And it's not just the whole concept of transition from being mom, and then suddenly overnight, which is what happens, you're empty nest because they've flown the coop.
Yep.
Or you go from being married lady to a widow, and that can happen suddenly, or it can happen over time, and or you can become a divorcee. There's so many things, so many transitions. So one of the things that I like to talk about things before they become a big hot button crisis problem.
Yes, that's always handy.
It's always better that way. Put air in your tire before it's completely flat. Good strategy.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I like to do with my clients is I will push them a little bit and ask them about their identity. So let me give you a couple quick examples.
Yes.
And I have done workshops, and I've done handouts and taught classes about this very subject. So let's say, for example, somebody, we've all got email addresses, and most of us have more than one email address. You've got one that you send your stuff to, your junk mail, and then the other one that's for work or whatever. And so usually you'll make up your email handle. Well, I had one client whose email handle was Liz the Clutterbug. And Liz had a problem with hoarding. And it was something that she was exactly. spending a lot of time and energy working on. And I finally said, maybe you're reinforcing something that you're ready to outgrow. But every time you send an email or receive one, it's reinforced over and over. The same thing is true of here in the US. You can get, and I presume other places, vanity license plates. Where rather than the number that's churned out by your county or whatever, your municipality, you decide what your license plate says. Well, if your license plate says, I hate my ex, I H8 my ex, you are still living with your ex.
Yeah, exactly. He's taking up space.
Right, exactly. And you're putting out negative energy. You're just like, and if you look at the sayings that you clip out of and put on your bulletin board, all of those things. So if we truly are a sleuth and a detective in our own world, we'll begin to see, one, where we're reinforcing some things that we may or may not want to continue to reinforce, and two, where things might feel like they don't fit anymore. So the final thing I'll say about this, because I think it's something, I love it when people are on podcasts and they give a takeaway. And here's a away, a little assignment for those listening. And you can actually kind of do it right now. If you're home, if you're not out walking, or if you're in your kitchen chopping vegetables, maybe you'll wait to do it a different time. But if you were to leave your house, just walk out and then walk back in your front door and look around and pretend you don't live there. Pretend you're a detective. Here in the United States, we had a show in the 70s called Columbo.
Yes, and I used to love Columbo. My dad and I used to watch Columbo. Thank you for that memory.
The guy in the trench coat, and he was always looking and sleuthing and noticing things.
So good.
I want you to do that in your own house. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at the names, the titles of the books on your bookshelf. Books do you read? What kinds of things do you have? What kind of music playlists do you have on Spotify? What is in your medicine cabinet? What are the remedies? Do you have or do you have a lot of headache remedies? Are you having a hard time sleeping, or are there all kinds of sleeping aids? What's in there? I'm not asking you to judge. I'm asking you to make notice.
Notice, yeah.
Judge later.
Yeah.
But first, look around like an outsider and see what you can determine about yourself and potentially your family and the family dynamics. Make notice. Are there a lot of broken things? Is there stuff that needs to be repaired and you don't get to it?
Don't even see it.
Is there a lot of junk? Are there containers of carry out that you've had, and you've got poor eating habits, so it's always been delivery? You get the idea.
Yeah.
Do that for yourself and see what you come up with.
Do you know what you've just reminded me of? Well, two things. As soon as you say that, I've had a debacle with the paint color that I just picked for my lounge room. So as I walk in my front door, Sheree, and I'm doing it as you're talking, I see my lounge room and there's all this furniture, well, not all this, I mean, the two pieces of furniture in there moved up to the one side, and I've got this hideous dark blue color on the wall because I had a picture in my head of what I wanted it to look like, and I bought the paint and I thought that was the right color. I put the first coat on. It is awful. And sometimes when you paint and you think it'll grow on me, it is not growing on me. I've left it for a week. So that's the first thing I noticed. But the second thing, and I'm like, oh, because I'm usually quite tidy and I like things in their place. So it makes me a little bit to not have that there. The second thing, you're reminding me of, there's a DiMartini, John DiMartini is quite a well-known, he's the one that created DiMartini method. He's quite well-known. He has an exercise where you figure out your values doing a similar thing. So what books are on your bookshelf, what food's in your cupboard, what blah, blah, blah. And it just, it shows you, even though you might have put that your values are this, this, and this, actually, when you look around and take stock of your environment, what is in your environment and therefore what's being reinforced can be different things. And it was an interesting exercise. I've only just redone it, and it's funny because my values have not changed. And I'm like, oh, here we go. One constant.
But, maybe the message in your paint thing is something else. Maybe it has to do with maybe the paint wasn't the problem at all. Maybe it was some other problem or something else needed to be addressed. There was something about that space. And if you can step back, I'm proud of you, to be honest, because what I've gotten to know about you, you're a type of person who treats things with urgency. Yeah. You're like, listen, we're not living like this. This is terrible. We're going to fix it. We're going to put some paint up. And if it's not 100% correct, at least it'll be 98%. We'll call it done. Yeah. You're not doing that. So to me, I say, okay, then what's the message below the message? And ask yourself, okay, what's it the paint? Or am I in another kind of transition? It's the entryway to your home. Is that what you're saying?
It's actually the first room, and it's quite a little room. And my theory was if I just did one, because the rest of our house is white, apart from the wall behind me, which is my beautiful wall in my office, which is duck egg blue, which is my favorite color. But it's a small room, and my theory was if I put a deeper color, it would give some length, and then I've got this big mirror to put on it so that, make some space. But as you're saying, what was really the problem? Actually, I know exactly what the problem was. We were out on our motorbike. Now, it is very hot at the moment. And when I'm on the bike, I've got full black leather, everything on. So you're even hotter. And we stopped at the paint store whilst on the bike. And because I was with my husband, I was like, oh, I don't really know. I've been thinking about the colors. Usually I plan for quite a little while, figure out what color I'd like, maybe get a sample pot, and then I will go and get it. But I felt like I didn't want to take too much time. No air conditioning in the hardware store. I'm still in all leathers. I've got my, big jacket and my helmet with me. It's hot. I am overheating. I do not make good decisions when I'm overheating. So I should have just gone, I'll come back in my air-conditioned car later on and pick my paints. So I was rushing myself
Brilliant.
in not ideal.
Yes. And so you see, just in this conversation,
Yeah.
and perhaps that was something that you knew and it was on the top of your mind or whatever. Anyway,
No.
But talking about it, and this also harkens back to your question about, when you're in your 50s and you're thinking about making a career change, but you convinced yourself it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
You could make a case for, look, it's painted, it's up, it's clean, there's no scuff marks. I'll put the mirror up, call it a day.
No.
But you're not, because what that does to me is it's like kind of the concept of throwing bad money after good, or good money after bad, whatever that expression goes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with your time. If you have spent time in this corporate job that is sucking you dry, why are you spending any more time on it? Why are you spending more time letting that room eat you alive? Now, I know you're going to call me next week and go, just wanted to let you know and follow up with you. That room is all repainted.
It may be the next thing on my list, because I'm in the country, so it's 40 minutes to the hardware store. So haven't made the time yet, but today I've got a late client tonight. So I will be taking some time in the middle of the day to go and get the correct paint color, which I've now chosen with time, because I think this comes back to what you're saying about what's in your environment. I want to love where I live. Like, my home is my sanctuary. I want it to feel good. I want it to feel relaxing. And one of the most important things that's going on that wall is professional photos that we got done with our family about a year ago. It's taken me that long to get proper, beautiful frames and everything. And so in my mind, the wall is this beautiful, it's got the mirror and it's got the 3 photos of us, and it's all, so it is worth taking time because that's important to me. Whereas, my husband's like, why can it not just stay white? But he knows now. He's like, oh, hang on, the paint charts are coming out. Okay. So he came back in, he was watching car racing, and he's like, chairs right over the other side, and the TV's like 2 centimeters away from the front of the chair because it's not a big room, right? And he's like, okay, we're doing this weekend. Oh, yeah, okay, good. He's just used to it. So yeah, he wouldn't mind if everything just stayed white. But it's funny, you go through stages. When we painted everything white, when we first renovated, it was all about being open and nice and clean, because it was, we'd only just bought the house. Now I'm like, all right, add the color. Add the color.
Exactly. It makes the right color.
Yes, exactly. What's when someone starts working with you, is the problem that they don't feel like, when you say that it takes guts, is that they don't realize that they want to make a change, or they've identified they want to make a change, or something's not right, but they don't feel courageous enough? Or like, what's the mismatch when people start working with you?
I think oftentimes, and it varies from person to person clearly, but oftentimes the guts part of it is because we've always done the things that were expected of us.
So boring. So boring.
Yeah, exactly. And your body language when I said that, and you went, oh,
yeah.
That says it all. It's a burden. And so, we do the dutiful things. We say yes when we're asked to host the Christmas or holiday dinner. We say yes to taking care of our elderly parents when maybe there's another sibling that would be in a better position to do that. We say yes to all of these things. And so, or we don't say no. And there's a difference between saying yes and not saying no in some instances.
Yes.
So, I think that it comes from not wanting to disappoint people. Yes, you could say people pleasing, but it's also feeling a little bit like it's an expectation. Yeah. Everybody's counting on me, and I come through because that's who I am.
That's the role I've always played.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes almost a righteousness. And it takes guts to be able to say, that's not me anymore. I need something else. I need something different. I want to try it another way. And it takes guts to do something outside of the norm.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm a courage coach, because part of it is number one, identifying what it is, the actual thing. Sometimes the thing isn't really the thing.
Nope.
It's not, it might not be that you need to get out of the corporate environment that you're in. It might mean that you just need to switch roles, or maybe take a sabbatical, or go to part-time for a period of time and refill your tank. Or maybe you could stay in your job and find something outside that is so stimulating and so engaging that it tops off your tank and you've got all the energy in the world that you need for work, which is what I did. I was unhappy and burned out when I owned the advertising agency, as I indicated, for a couple of years before I left. One of the times that I felt the whole like, oh my God, I don't think I can do this anymore.
This is wearing thin.
I wrote a book with a traditional publisher, not a self-published. So it was very rigorous. There was production schedules and all these things I had to adhere to. And it was so new and so novel and so stimulating that it gave me pep in my step. It gave me energy. It's why I got up early in the morning, so I could work on that before I went to work. And then I could work on it when I got home. And then and it was that gave me what I needed to bridge that gap. So I guess that's a long-winded way of saying the courage to realize that it doesn't, your Cinderella, your slipper doesn't fit. We need to find another slipper in a different size.
Yeah. There's so many layers, because I'm just thinking, for some people, even being able to get underneath the numbing behavior to realize how dissatisfied or, fatigued or whatever the emotion is, whatever the true emotion is, would take a lot of courage, because by definition, sometimes when you're actually honest about how bad you're feeling, the next obvious thing is, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to, and sometimes, if you've been in a marriage for a long time and you don't feel satisfied in that, that's a scary thing, I think, for a lot of people, to contemplate big shifts in roles. So, and it's kind of like, if life happens and you have to deal with a change, that's one thing. But if you actually have to get up the courage to make the change and say, this is right for me, I imagine that is a whole other level of courage on the playing field, really, isn't it?
It is. You just hit on something that I talk about all the time, and that is, there are two kinds of courage. One is reactive, which you've alluded to, and that is, if you get fired, you don't really have a choice.
Yeah, you can't just keep turning up.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it does. How's that working for you?
Yeah, exactly.
And we have all kinds of things that we have to have reactive courage to. Another might be a diagnosis. You receive a diagnosis and it's dire, it's severe. And people say, oh, you're courageous in your fight against whatever this ailment is. Not really. What's the alternative? Lay down and die.
I don't have a choice. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So that's that type of courage. And sometimes that type of courage is also that's what's called upon you to do the right thing. For example, you're walking down the street and you realize your neighbor's house is on fire and you hear them yelling, help, help. I'm locked in. You do what you can in the moment, and you don't stop and weigh the pros and cons and then Google what's my risk.
What's my risk profile here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's the reactive. Proactive courage is the kind of courage that we're really speaking of, because that's the big girl courage. That's the one that says, well, does it suck that bad that I'm willing to risk busting it up? That's why it took me a while at 53. That's why I said it took years to say, I'm risking this high income that I have. I'm throwing away all this great travel I get to do. I'm, all of those things that you look for something to cling on to justify staying in a miserable hell that you've created. And
Yes.
and you're the warden in that jail.
That you chose. Yeah, I know.
So,
that's tough medicine, isn't it? I chose this.
Yeah.
So as you're speaking, if you could, I know this is one of those stupid, not hypocritical, hypothetical questions that annoy me when I'm listening to them on podcasts, but I have to ask, if you could visit your 53-year-old self and show her the result of her building that courage up and taking the leap, what would you show her is the result? Like what would you be like, look, this is how I feel.
I think I'm going to take a liberty and adjust the question a little.
Yeah, go for it.
If I could talk to the 53-year-old self then, who was terrified,
yeah,
I would say, Sheree, listen, you have done a lot of hard things in the first 53 years of your life. You've been brave. You have taken risks, and you're still standing. So let's talk about what's the worst that could happen. What are you really afraid of?
Yes.
Then let's talk, you and I, about how likely that fear is to come true. Because and quite honestly, Kylie, my fear, I used to say to my friends, I am worried I'm going to end up under a bridge, that I'm going to end up homeless, that I'm going to fall on my face, that I'm going to be,
and lose everything.
Lose it all. Well, let's get realistic here. At 53 years of age, it wasn't like I had nothing. Yes. And that, I was one sandwich away from starvation.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of resources. I was good at what I did. And resources meaning friends, people that are going to help me, connections, people that owed me favors.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would want to hear from the person I am now, speaking to the 53-year-old. Then to acquiesce to your question. Yeah. I would say, look at this. It's not perfect. You need to know that. And I have not had a moment in my life where everything was perfect. Well, a moment maybe, but not for any long stretch of time. And it feels really good, Sheree, to be true to yourself. So how about you take my hand? I'll walk along next to you, side by side, shoulder to shoulder. We've got this.
Yeah. Oh, it comes all the way back to what I said originally about something that you said, like the self-trust. Like if you know that you've got yourself, there's really nothing that can happen that you don't have the ability to adapt to or respond to, or call in, favors or ask for support, or, I think I really, really relate to, my fear brain. Even the last time I left work, like I knew for the whole 5 years that I was back in corporate that I hated it. I 100% knew in every cell of my body. And for a long time, I justified that by, you're earning money for your family. This is your role, blah, 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 all of those things. And then probably for about 2 years, and it got to the stage where I was driving to work in tears most days. So, getting to that stage that you were talking about, like, it's okay when it's just a Monday morning, but you get over it. But then when it becomes every day and it becomes, it's really severely impacting you. And I can look back now and go, like, I was not doing anything outside of work that was filling my cup, like all of the things that you've mentioned. But my fear brain was telling me if I quit this perfectly fine, that's what I would have said, fine, not good, perfectly fine corporate job that doesn't light me up and feels like my creative juice is bleeding on the floor every day and full of drama and politics and shit that I do not want to be, it's just not my cup of tea, right? My fear brain would tell me that if I go quit that job, then we would lose our house, and it's always the worst case scenario. That's the job of your fear brain, right? Its job is to try and keep you safe. But I just kept on affirming to myself, and I don't even know where I got it from. I just kept on affirming to myself, I will figure it out. And here I am a year down the track thinking, thank God, because I could still be driving to work every morning crying and not have the ability today to go and get my paint in the middle of the day, because I would have had to ask someone, for leave or whatever to do that, and not have the flexibility to do work that feels as easy as breathing and is deeply useful and fun. And it gives me that spark of inspiration with every new client, all of those things. And that is what the cost of listening to that fear brain. Like, if we really, really don't have that good conversation, like you've just said, what is the likelihood? How many ways are you supported before you get to the stage where you're living under a bridge? Or, well, there's no bridges where I live, but, living in a paddock, I think part of the courage is to actually get really good at dealing with the self-talk internally when that fear brain wants to be driving the bus and you're like, nah, you don't get to. This is my show.
I think the way that we shut that fear brain off is the fear brain wants to jump to the end of the book, wants to read the last chapter, last sentence, and have assurance that, and they lived happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is you really have to just take the first step. And then the step after that. And then you can pause if you need to and regroup and say, okay, now let me look around and see, do I need to pivot? Or is the next step what I thought it was going to be? But if you allow yourself to jump too far forward, you'll become immobilized in fear.
Oh, that's so true. So true. You've given me so many quotes to use. It's too many takeaways. No. I just love everything that you've talked about. I think the key things that are standing out to me, that I've written down so many different things, but when we're playing a particular role and we've got expectations, it takes guts to say that's not me anymore. I think that's really key, because I think we can jam ourselves into a corner when we've been playing a role, particularly people pleasing or caretaking or whatever the thing is, or always taking care of the kids before you or whatever. I love what you said about, I don't want to live a flatline life. Like, to me, that's where it is, because I didn't sign up for this skin suit, this turnaround in this, time and place to just kind of meh my way through things. Like, I'm like, no, I want to be engaged and interested and have really good conversation, all of the things that, interest me and light me up. Yeah, it's been a really, really, really great to, and I think the other thing is, if you are numbing out with any of the things that we've talked about, whether it's shopping or scrolling or food, alcohol, whatever, what are you trying not to feel? What's the message? And and I hope everyone will actually open the door of their house and pretend that it's not their home. I think that's very, very good little exercise.
It's instructional.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it as you like, even opening up the fridge, and saying, well, here's a family that likes their ice cream.
Yeah. Mine would be, here's a family that eats everything out of jars, because I always meal prep. So I have everything in jars. And when other people open my fridge, they're like, what's going on here? I'm like, I just know myself. If I do my prep on Sundays, then I'm good for the week, because I don't have to think about anything. But yeah, for other people, it's odd. And you know what else my daughters said when they started like dating people and they'd be in other people's houses and, open their fridge? Abby, my eldest daughter, came home one day and she goes, Mom. I'm like, yes, honey. And she goes, we're the weird ones. And I'm like, in what way? I mean, I think I knew that, but in what way this time? And she goes, no one else has bottles of water in their fridge. How weird is that? Only because I like to drink water and I like it cold because it's so hot where we are. But yeah, not everyone has 20 bottles of water in their fridge. I'm like, yeah, there you go. Didn't know that. Anyway, it has been an absolute joy. Where can people find you online, please?
The best place to find me is to visit my website, which is fork-road.com. I'm sure you're going to put that in the show notes.
Yes, certainly am.
And you can reach out to me there. And I will say I do answer my own emails, and I read them, and I would love to hear from anybody that wants to have a conversation.
Yeah. Email and say, what did you notice was in and out of alignment when you did that would be a really cool Then you have to share them with me. No.
I absolutely, and without the name.
Yeah, without the name, of course.
Yes, I do. I want to hear, what did Columbo find out about you?
Thank you for that. Do you know, we used to watch Columbo, and then there was one called Quincy who was a medical examiner. I reckon that's why I became a forensic biologist, and then I decided it was so boring, it's not funny. And we used to watch Get Smart, yeah.
Maxwell's
that was the three that my dad and I loved. Thank you for that little memory. Have a beautiful, it's evening for you, but day for me. So have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. It's been a deep, joyful conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks so much for listening into today's episode. If you love the show, as I hope you do, please take the time to subscribe on your favourite pod listening platform and rate and review. And for bonus points, if you have a friend or someone who popped to mind as you were listening to this episode, why not hit the share link wherever you're listening and send them a little love bomb. Like, listen to this. Did you know this is normal? I really, really, really would love to get these beautiful stories into the hearts and ears and minds of so many more midlife mavens. And your help spreading the love is truly, truly appreciated. Thank you so much. I'm Kylie Patchett, your host, and have a spectacular day.